What's going on, guys? It's Matt Marino for Real Estate Recovery Group, and I've got my special guest today, Yarik, and it's Yarik Buys Houses. And I'm excited to have this young fella on. When I met him a little over 2 years ago, he had a full head of hair. COVID just destroyed him, obviously.
Definitely did.
He pulled all his hair out, and I'm happy to have him on because in a very short period of time, seriously, in a very short period of time, this young man has figured out from going into buying one-family houses, he's now buying mixed-use, multi-family properties. Based on conversations we've had, I'm going to say he might be a master negotiator. He's got a background in digital marketing. He's been doing this now since 2018, full time. So it's like 2 years, and he's raising private capital.
Correct.
Well, I want to have Yarik on tonight. I want to talk about what he's up to, and I got some serious loaded questions for this guy because he's only been doing it for a short period of time, and we actually met at one of the local RIAs. So without further ado, my main man, Yarik. What's going on, bud?
Thank you, Matt. Thank you for having me here. I'm super excited to be here and sharing my whatever I can with your follow base. My name is Yarik, who buys houses. As some of you guys know, I'm super excited to share whatever knowledge I have. Like I said before, if I don't understand it, I can't teach it. So I'm here to see and give as much as I can. So let's start and let's see what we can offer.
All right, cool, awesome. So I do have a couple of questions, like everybody else that comes on. So, we did touch base on negotiating, and I know that you and I have had long-winded conversations about that, and it really is an art. So my question to you is, what is the best way to negotiate? Forget what the asset or whatever the item is that you're trying to buy. What would you consider? What would be the best way to try to negotiate something?
So the best way to negotiate in everything in life, I feel like, is providing value, right? If you are a problem solver, that's where negotiation starts. So meaning there's somebody wants to sell something or give something up or trade something, and now it's your duty to come in and help that individual, right? Your goal is to help. Once you start helping people, the money is actually the bonus, right? Because most of us start focusing on money specifically, but we have to understand that money is a bonus. Money, I like to say, it's not real. It's just it's a byproduct. It's a bonus. So in reality, the goal is to close, right? And you yourself, you do short sales, and you know that there's a lot of moving parts in any equation, any form we're going to, and the goal is to actually close. Right? If you don't close, nobody's winning. Nobody's making money. Nobody's actually converting. So the best way to negotiate is to figure out how are you a problem solver, right? How are you solving the other person's problem, and where you are able to give.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah.
So the issue that I normally come up with is, at least in my realm and what I'm doing is I have issues with sellers that are unrealistic.
Oh, 100%.
Either one, with what they think the value may or may not be of the property. Yep. Two, communication between spouses or whoever actually owns the property, might be on the title or the mortgage. And three, there's always there's an emotional attachment, and people feel like, I'm giving up, my dream.
The golden egg.
Yeah, the golden egg with the golden goose. The problem is that 9 times out of 10, when it gets to me, that ship has already sailed. There's a lot of sour grapes in the middle between the homeowners and I guess expectations of what they want to do, and one has realistic expectations and the other one doesn't. So it's never. I really get people on the same page. Unfortunately, I deal with people that are separated, going through a divorce. I do love when people come back together and they realize that it's just brick and mortar and hey, mistakes were made and they go on. So believe it or not, a lot of that has to do with the negotiation aspect of it, at least with what I'm doing with the distressed sellers, because they need to realize it's obviously in their best interest. Nobody's going to want a foreclosure.
Exactly.
On their record. So the next question that I have is, How can negotiations be a win-win for both parties?
Right. So kind of going back to what you said is, um, you have to, both parties have to come to a conclusion where we close, right? So when does it become a win-win? If and now let's focus on real estate specifically. If the deal doesn't get closed, nobody's winning,
Right.
right? There's a reason why the property was on the market, right? It's for it to sell. Now, sometimes, the agent could be wrong, the seller could be wrong, whatever it is. It's not being wrong, it's just the awareness, right? Our awareness, like, oh, hey, listen, the market is hot. My street, the property next door sold for $1 million. I want $1 million. And now it's your duty, and to make them understand that for them to win in this transaction, they have to come to the realization of the current stats. What are people willing to pay, right? What is the fair market value, right? So, for example, like one of the ways I look at a property is how many days has it been in the market, right? If it's been over 6 months, 3 months, those are signs that, hey, the price might be too high.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that price was set either by the agent or by the seller. And now it's your duty, our duty, is how do we make it a win-win, right? How do we get it to the closing table? So how does this person who wants to sell actually, goes part with this property and goes on to his own way? So how do we win-win is to pretty much take our awareness, or, our perception, and hopefully in a way where we're able to communicate with the seller, ask them questions, right? We ask questions, we see their awareness, we see what is the reason, what is the motivation, what is the goal, right? And once we start tapping into those things, we start understanding their awareness, their surroundings, and that's when we are able to say, hey, listen, I understand you want. And I'll give you an example. Right now, I'm in a contract on a mixed-use property. The seller wanted 375, right? So the property was on the market for about 3 months, 90 days. It's a hot market. And meanwhile, keep in mind that this 6 months ago, I started building rapport with the seller. So he wanted 375. It needed work. It's in a great location. It definitely has a potential, but people are not buying it. People are not bidding on it, right? People coming by, taking a look at it, and they're leaving. They're not closing on this deal. So I came in and I explained to him, listen, I'd love to give you this amount of money, and this is why, right? And there's certain words that we need to use, and that connect with people. And when I say that, for example, like I do a lot of like self-awareness and like self-improvement, self-education. And one of the things I like to do is like follow guys, for example, like Chris Voss. He's a negotiator for FBI, and he has certain ways of explaining to you how to use certain words on like how to trigger the person to respond. Maybe not the way, not like in a bad way, but in a way where their awareness comes, maybe links up to yours. Right.
I mean, like for me, like I have a way of people responding in a very bad way to me.
Okay, so how would you say? In which way is that?
Now I'm only kidding. Nah, it's all about the psyche. I get that. It's about building the rapport with people. I tell people when you talk with specific homeowners, you have to watch your tone. Don't sound like a used car salesman, and definitely don't, if you're physically seeing them, even during this period of time, don't look at them like they're a dollar sign, because they're gonna know that you're
100%.
really not interested in their well-being. Where are they going next?
Yeah, because you're not focusing on them, you're focusing on the money, right? And that's really when you lose.
Yeah, no, 100%. So I mean, that's important. So negotiating across the board obviously is something that needs to be done. Which leads me to my next question. How to get the deals. Basically can be negotiated. What is your thought process? When you're working with these people and scouting out particular transactions, and do you think in your head when you're looking at a prospect or lead, something that's coming in, is like, hey, what's my game plan as far as negotiating?
100%. I completely agree with you. You have to see the whole picture, right?
Right.
The first thing I start with is, what is the motivation, right? Why are you selling? Because once we start understanding why and how fast this person needs to sell, we can start, negotiating in a certain way. So, for example, the deal that I'm working on right now. So the property is located in Philadelphia. It's a mixed use. First floor is a storefront. We have the owner is actually, it's an optical store. He's inside of it. He's operating it. It's his own business, and he lives in Delaware, right? So he's tired of traveling back and forth. See, that's one of those things I found out after I kept on there asking questions and so on, so on, so on. Because end of the day, we have to find out where the motivation is, right? And the only way to do it is to ask questions, right? If we keep on talking and not ask any questions, we're just sharing and we're only giving what we know and not receiving what we should be. So I definitely believe in asking questions. And a lot of times, I get a pushback from agents where I say, well, what is the reason for the sale? And the agent goes, well, I'm not going to tell you that. Well, I'm like, to be honest with you, I want to know if there's a foundation issue and this is why the seller is running away from it. If he's running away from it, I don't want it myself, right? So we kind of have to understand, like, I'm not trying to find out why is he selling it to maybe beat up the seller about it. I just want to find out what is the reason, right? Because if there is a really bad reason, maybe we shouldn't be investing into this property, right? And if the person does lie, eventually come out, the truth will come out, right? So you have to ask questions, and that's pretty much how I look at deals, right? I look at days in the market, how if it was just listed, it's still hot, it's fresh, people are reaching out to them. If it's been already 90 days, 180 days, most likely it's stale, right? There's no more people coming by, there's no more buyers reaching out, there's no more transaction, there's no more of contact, being the seller's not really getting anything anywhere. So that's pretty much where I would step in and say, hey, and I would even ask the agent that, hey, so I see this property has been on 180 days in the market. What is the reason? It's a hot market, things are selling off. And sometimes, the agent will come back and say, to be honest with you, it's really priced high, right? So once you start already talking to the agent and realizing, hey, he's already telling you that he agrees the price is too high. All right, great. So what do you think about the price, right? So that's when you start negotiating, and that's when, because especially for me, I don't do a lot of marketing where directly to the seller. I actually, I use a lot of agents. I work with agents because they're part of my team, and so in a way, agents are kind of like the gatekeeper, you can say, right? Because you don't have the direct access to the seller, which is not a bad thing, right? Because I believe that the agents should get paid for the full amount that they deserve. Why? Is because, well, hey, they found the seller, right? They did all the images, they did all the work, all the legwork, and now they're there to find the buyer, which is me. And now I'm trying to figure out, how do I bring value to the agent, make his life easier, and for him to actually go to the seller and him, to provide the information. So sometimes I even ask the agents, like, hey, can you forward this email to the seller, right? Because I don't want you to take whatever word I tell you and then translate it into your own language and then tell it to the seller, right? Because sometimes, I don't want the miscommunication, and the biggest part we're having is miscommunication. Yeah, so those are the things I look for in a deal.
Makes sense. Okay, so I asked this question in multiple different ways to multiple different people that come on the show, and obviously, what people feel and where, the market is heading and where it's heading towards.
Right.
What's your thought process on where we're at right now and where the market might be going?
So it's a great question. For the past couple of years, I've been going through a lot of networks, meetups before the virus, the pandemic hit. And the biggest topic I've been seeing in all these real estate events is the next crash. Right? When is the next crash, and how do we take advantage of it, whatever it is. So I've been brainstorming and thinking about it, like there's a recession coming. There's a recession coming. It's just balloon, things are inflated. So when this happened to us, this whole coronavirus, it was pretty much that's when I realized, like, this is it. This is the next recession. And the way I see it is definitely a great it's a depression we're heading into. It's just 40 million unemployed people right now, and I don't really see. I have close friends that are making six figures. Now they're thinking about Uber, right? That's really sad. Another thing I know for a fact, this is like, we're not. I mean, positive days are ahead of us. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a negative person. I definitely believe positive days are ahead of us.
Yeah.
But the next couple of years are gonna be bumpy, right? Now it's up to us, either take advantage of it or just go with the flow and be a herd and get crushed, right? Because there's gonna be a lot of opportunities. There's a lot of different things the government is doing. If you have a business, there's loans given out and so on. So if you have the potential, energy, and you're persistent about it, you can definitely make a killing, right? And everybody always says what? The rich get richer and the poor get poorer, right? And I used to not understand that until I realized, once you start investing into yourself and so on, you're able to get it back. And that's what the rich people do. They, instead of, binging on Netflix and, consuming more alcohol, they're sitting there educating themselves, reaching out to lenders, they're getting prepared and seeing what they can take advantage of, right? So where the market is heading, I definitely believe it's heading down. And one of the reasons is I just recently purchased an entire art collection from a gallery that closed down in Manhattan. Right, we're talking about a gallery for 5 years. He was paying $35,000 a year rent every month to now no longer existent. Right, so me being able to purchase the entire art collection, that right there shows.
$35,000 a year or $35,000 a month?
A month. So he closed down for 3 months, right? Because once we had the close, business couldn't operate anymore, the shutdown. He was just paying rent month to month, and then on the fourth month, he realized nothing is really changing. So he literally, I built a rapport with him again, and going back to how to negotiate. You have to build a rapport. You have to follow up. It's all the money's in the follow up, right? And that's what I did with this seller. I kept on following up, and then it came to the day where it's like, hey, today's Thursday. Tomorrow, I know we're going back to us. You got to get this part out. So we came to an agreement and we move forward. And that's again. So I'm definitely seeing the market is going to go down. It's not a bad thing, right? We need ups and downs. It's just that's how it is. And the economy works that way. So it's just really up to you if you want to take advantage of it. Make money on it, or just get crushed.
I'm laughing because I'm looking at some of these remarks. Willie puts up here hashtag Matty Snapples. Snapple iced tea.
There you go.
Those guys want to reach out and they want to be sponsors. I'm all for it.
Love it. Go for it. Get a little banner going.
It's a little tasty. He also said here, going to negotiate later today. Thanks for the value, guys. Always get great value from the Facebook Lives, Matt. Thanks for that. I appreciate that. And then we also have here apparently you're making your rounds. Last night you were with Elijah and Nick.
Yes, I was. I was raising capital pretty much at that point. I was just sharing one of the deals that I was pretty much going for that. And I'm super blessed and super thankful for you guys, to have me on your shows and let me spread my word. Yeah.
Look, at the end of the day, this isn't about me. This is about what's going on. Yep. So, people are like, oh, you're having people come on, you're giving their phone numbers here. You're giving their phone numbers, you're saying to them, reach out to them. Like, why would you do that? Why I do it? I do it because I don't have competition. I look at everything as an opportunity. That's how I do my business. So for me, like, if anybody wants to reach out to Yarik direct, you can reach him on his cell. You could text him. You could call him. His phone number is 215-239-7819. Again, it's 215-239-7819. I mean, you're looking for stuff really anywhere right now, right? Or are you focused mainly in Jersey, New York, and Pennsylvania?
Those are my three areas. But again, if somebody is motivated, to sell, I definitely have other networks, other investors and other partnerships that I have that I'll be able to help out. Either I can guide you. Either way, we either can make money together, or I'll at least I'll try my best to help. Because I'm really about the win-win, and it sounds by you, so are you. It's all about a win-win situation.
Yeah, man. Well, listen, we're getting calls all over the place. So yesterday I was with who the hell was I with yesterday? I don't even know who the hell I was with yesterday. But we were talking about the market, where the market's headed, and what's going on. So for me, like, I need people to understand like where we are right now and where the market's headed. And they started talking to me. I was on a Zoom call, and we're talking about like different ways because the way the market is, and because like I'm worried about what's going to happen. This is ridiculous. The way the market is right now, it's ridiculous because people are so panicked about learning, education, trying to find out what the latest and the greatest is, where we're, really like, where are we headed? What's going to happen? So this question to me is important because people are so worried about where the market is. Should I learn short sales? Should I learn how to go after distressed real estate? Should I buy, problematic title issues with houses? How do I get this information? So people are like pleading with me to actually do like online courses and classes, which we are working on. So I don't want people to think that I'm not taking it serious, but I didn't know the pandemic was going to hit. I knew in 2020, 2021, there was going to be a correction in this industry.
Same here, like in 2001.
Everybody knew something was going to happen. Our prediction was 2020, 2021, there was going to be a correction. But this is a new twist, and we are in such uncharted territories. People are calling in 800 number, people that we've helped in past years, and saying, hey, I'm in trouble here because I'm in a forbearance. And they're telling me I'm not in a deferment. And the difference between the forbearance and the deferment is the forbearance is something that's going to have to be paid in a shorter period of time.
Right.
Deferment, they're taking the difference of it and they're putting it at the end of the mortgage. So homeowners not listening, and there's not enough content out there for people like from us explaining to them the situation that they may or may not be in. I feel really bad for homeowners that we've helped in the past, whereas that they've gotten their final loan modification and they've been paying it. Now all of a sudden they're not paying it because they're on, deferment, and they may or may not have their job and they're panicked. So I tell people best time to find out your options is really during the forbearance period, and they really should have done it from day one. Okay, I'm in the forbearance, but could I qualify for a modification? Will I be able to qualify for a modification? Is a modification going to be available? Or are we going to be able to be in a better situation 6 months to a year from now? Is the government going to step in? Are these different programs going to be available? So, look, if you're a Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac loan, they're working with homeowners. But what if you're not Fannie Mae? What if you're not Freddie Mac? What if you're not backed by them? You need to call your lender. You need to find out who your investor is. Can you reach out to your investor? Can you write a letter to your investor? You can do whatever the hell you want. Right?
Take action.
Take action. But I think people are programmed a specific way, and they always feel like, well, if everybody can do it, then everybody would be a millionaire.
Exactly. Right.
Or if somebody's like, well, I could be the first person to think of this. Somebody else must have thought of it. Well, and since nobody else brought it up, I probably can't get help. And that's one of the reasons why I'm writing my book, because people need to hear the untold stories that got them to where they were in their point of the transaction, whether it was a modification or whether it was a short sale. And I think it will add a lot of clarity to people that in the next, my prediction, 2020, 2021 was going to be a correction. But now this is another layer. This is an additional layer onion. So in talking to the people that I know on the inside of the bank, I'm going to say 16 to 24 months, we're going to see such a surge in distressed real estate because people are going to be walking away out of disgust. Is it going to be like, 2005 and then the market changed, 2007, 2008 when the bottom fell out? I don't know. It's a different beast. Yeah. And I don't know if the government is going to get involved, like they should. Well, they don't. That's the thing. They don't have to get involved in that.
I mean, for what's about to happen,
there's only
it doesn't matter. Yeah. Look, it doesn't matter how much they put in. We still gonna end up, the taxpayers always end up paying it. So it doesn't matter what they do. We're still gonna end up, one way or the other, it has to get paid back.
Right. So Tina Strange just posted here, mentioned something about if unemployment is reduced from the $600 a week to $100 a week, a lot of folks are going to be in serious trouble. Oh, yeah. I agree with that, but there's only so much we can do.
Exactly.
Stock market is good. The economy is good for the most part.
Yep.
People out of work. The people that were most affected by this, ironically, based on what we're seeing, were more people that were in the service industry. So they might not have had a corporate job. And if they have a corporate job, they're working from home. God, what are you going to say?
Service industry got hit the hardest. I'm like, I have two of my friends, right? They were making six figures, both managers, top of the hotel, restaurant hotel in the city. Guess what? They got called. That's it. We closed. We didn't open up the doors. You guys are laid off, right? I'm talking about, this is one of my close friends. I know him since 12 years old, and for the past 16 years, he's been working on his resume, right? And so what does he do now, right? Where does he go, right? And I told him straight up, as soon as this happened, I told him, "Look, dude, man, I'm sorry, but you have to learn a new skill set. You just have to."
You know what's very scary is that people don't realize how far a reach I really have, and I'm talking about all across the United States. I got a phone call yesterday from a buddy of mine, and he said to me, "Look, I have a friend. He's in the hotel industry, and he's having an issue, with the hotel." And he said, right now they're always at 100% occupancy. Like,
Right.
people on waiting lists to get into the hotel. They're at 60% because of the virus. Sheer panic. He has a forbearance on his house, and he's somewhat, from what I understand, he's somewhat a little high profile. I'm being asked if I'll sign off on an NDA, where I'm not going to disclose who the person is.
Right.
That's okay. I mean, I've had that before. I signed off on somebody who was in the music industry years ago, that had run into their property. I think their house was in Tennessee. So, I'm not foreign to what's going on. So I understand. So people are asking me, what's my opinion? My opinion right now is, if you're in a forbearance program, call back your lender and say to them, look, I don't see any, change in sight. Or go to the website, look on the site. Like, people are saying to me, like, dude, why are you telling people all this? You could capitalize. You could make so much money off of people. It's not about the goddamn money.
Yeah.
It's about helping the people. And it's always about the people before the profit. People need to understand what their rights are. And the thing that pisses me off is that banks are there to process. They are there to offer assistance to a certain point.
Yep.
So if you don't say, hey, I can't make my payment, what do I do? Well, you need to try to make your payment. Your forbearance is coming up. You need to say, are there other programs available? Can I get an extension on my forbearance? Then it's like, yeah, absolutely. You could go to the website and you could fill this information. I was like, dude, why is it like you got to pull teeth to get the information out from these people? It's so frustrating. It really is. Oh, one more thing, and we're going to get back into this. Being on the inside, getting the inside track, doing this day in and day out. There's so many people that are saying that they're this in the industry, or they're this, or they've got the crown jewel cap, or whatever it is. That they're the short sell maven, or whatever it is. I'm a meat and potatoes guy. I put my pants on like everybody else. I don't care if you're a girl or a guy. I'm still in the trenches. Whereas these people out there that are coming back out of the woodwork that used to do this stuff years ago, they're trying to recycle their old material.
Yep.
And try to come back into the industry. So I'm telling people, look, just be leery, do the research on the people, see if there's any lawsuits against them, see how active they've really been on social media over the last, 15 years or whatever it is. And ask, just say, like, how did you leave the industry? Did you come back? Like, what's your involvement in it? So it's so important that I stay fresh and new in the industry itself.
Yep.
Here, I'll give an example. And I'm going to give an unsolicited shout out. I don't know if he's watching or not. I like Nick Tang. I love Nick Tang. I would love to put Nick Tang in my pocket. Nick cracks me up.
He's awesome.
Nick did an event.
Super knowledgeable.
Dude, he did an event once in New York City. Place was fucking packed. And he's like, oh, boy, I got to go take a nap. This fucker literally went underneath the table and took a nap underneath the table. Everybody's looking for Nick Tang. He goes, don't tell anybody. Because he's not a day person. The guy's an owl. He's a night owl. He does everything at night. And
it's 6 o'clock in the morning. Yeah.
I get that. But his passion is to put other people together in a room and educate.
He's good at it.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
And I like it. Nick will tell you. You ask Nick. I'm going to say it live on this. It's going to be recorded. It's going to be out there forever. Nick took my very first short sale class that I
awesome.
So there's a lot of people in the industry that take it a class. So I took it in a total different direction. I didn't build wealth the way others done. Do I look back and say, "Oh, it was a mistake. I shouldn't have done it"? I'm like Robin Hood. I'm on a crusade to try to help others to avoid the iceberg. So for me, where's the market headed right now? Honestly, it's got a very similar smell and taste to 2005 when I got into the industry.
And you went through 2008, so you know exactly what's really how it is. Yeah.
And it's so sad because during that period of time, nobody knew who I was. 2005, 2007 hit. Everybody in the general area of Northern Jersey knew, I had an idea of who I was, teaching the classes. Then it went dark for years, just perfecting this type of industry, knowing that one day, because it's always cyclical, and always 10, 15 years, shit always recycles and comes back. But COVID really, truly has screwed people to the point, whereas before, when they were late and they were fortunate to keep their house, they might not be able to keep their property again. So I'm telling people, look, if you could pay it, pay your goddamn mortgage. Don't listen to Sally down the street, whose brother is a mechanic and his best friend Johnny works out at the loading dock.
Yeah.
His friend, lives in Little Lake Harbor, and he's saying, "Oh, the market's fine, don't worry," or "The market's not going to be. Don't pay your mortgage. You can stay in your house for another 5, 10 years." That shit is over. In the state of New Jersey, November 1st, 2019, they changed the laws in New Jersey.
Really?
Yeah, 100%. It used to be you get two adjournments, 2 weeks, 2 weeks. Now you get 30 and 30. So before it was 30 days. Now you get 60 days. Well, here's what they did. They also allotted that to the bank. So now the bank has the same thing. They don't want the bank to prolong it. They don't want the homeowner to prolong it. It's not going to be 5, 10, 8 years. That shit's over. It's gone. That is done. So when people say to me, "Oh, I can live in my house forever," no, you can't live in your house forever. And there's a lot of the scratch and debt loans, yes, they're still out there from 2008. Yes, there are still people paying very high interest rates, on their mortgage. But they're not picking up the telephone. They're not calling mortgage professionals saying, "Hey, what can I do?" I mean, if you're over leveraged on your house and you have a high interest rate, you're screwed. They're not going to refinance. I don't know if they're going to refinance you. And I know a lot of things have changed now since COVID. So, the market is headed into uncharted territories. It's almost like you're at sea right now and you have full access to your engine and all the electric is gone. It's black. You got all the power behind you. You can maneuver around, but you don't know where you're going.
And some of what you said before is pretty much, you got to take action, right? You got to call the bank. You got to find out. You got to read. You got to see the blueprint. You got to see the defined prints. If you take action, something will happen, right? And like you said before, people are listening to their uncles and their brother. People don't know anything. Like, "Oh, he told me that, but he never did it." Never, and they'll just go with it. They'll just passively go with it, right? And that's what separates, the poor and the rich, I guess. And like it's like the more and more I think about it, and more it makes sense to me, because like you have to take action, right? Netflix went up by 33% of streaming when Corona hit. Alcohol prices went up. I mean, not prices, consumption went up. So like all these things, people are being more lazy, and they're kind of like letting their inner voice take over and get control. Everything will be fine. The government will figure it out. I have nothing to worry about. And a lot of people don't realize that, like, but sometimes a personal home becomes a liability, right? Because like you have to pay for it, and if you don't, guess what? You're not gonna live there. Like you say, people like, "Oh, I'll live there 5 years." It doesn't work that way, right? And it's funny. Somebody once told me, it's like, if you really want to find out who owns your house, stop paying your taxes, right? And see how fast you'll be. Your fully paid off property will be taken away from you just by not paying taxes, right? So
One thing is a homeowner themselves, if they really want to know who actually owns it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, stop paying your taxes, and you'll see who really owns your property, right? Is it you, or is it the government? That collects their tax. I mean, the government is a great machine. They're there to help, but if you don't, go with the system, the system will work against you.
Look, it's very terrifying for a homeowner that doesn't understand. And if you're not in the industry like you and me, look, your loan could set out with one particular bank and think the bank owns it.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, a lot of these loans get bundled up, and they're keeping the servicing rights. And then the servicing rights shift to another company. And then they think, well, my loan was with this bank, but now it's with this bank. You could do service transfers, I think, up to like 9 times or whatever. So, and I've had people have multiple, transfers. Like, oh, my loan was sold multiple times. How do you know? Well, this is the servicing company. The servicing company is not necessarily the company that owns the actual asset.
They're the one serving it.
It's a collateral paperwork. So if you're calling into your bank and you say, I'd like to find out who owns or holds the collateral paperwork, you might actually get a bank rep on the phone and go, I don't even know what you're talking about. Because they don't know. So when someone says to me, Matt, I called my bank told me it was a deferment, but I got the paperwork, and the paperwork's not a deferment, it's a forbearance. I don't understand what's going on. Did you record the conversation? No. Did it tell you that you're not going to have to pay it? Yes. But it's a forbearance? Yes. Well, you could ask for that tape to be, pulled back up. You could ask for a supervisor to listen to it. This is the thing that people don't know. I'm human. Believe it or not. I am human.
No way.
Yeah, well, hold on. I make mistakes. Calm down. Yes, you're right. I make mistakes.
You know.
This is what I'm saying. But imagine calling into a bank and talking to a bank rep and they make a mistake. Do you know that those bank reps actually get penalized?
Oh, really?
The banks get penalized to the tune of $10,000 violations. $10,000. One phone call could be literally, if they get audited by the banking commission and there's an audit done, they pull those tapes and they hear the person did not say the right thing, they can get spanked with 10 G's. About a month or so ago, I was talking to a friend of mine who works on the inside of the bank. He said, we got ripped apart on an audit. They did a random audit. 16 violations. 160 grand in one day in violations. Now, it's not going to affect them right now. It's going to come in the fourth quarter when they're going to have to pay it.
Right.
So depending on the scenario, depending on the loan, depending on the servicer, depending on the underwriters, depending on anybody that's part of that aspect of it, you have to position yourself with the right people. Now, here's what cracks me up. We do these events. We're working on the boot camp now for October. Awesome. I love when people say to me, hey, any way I can get a free pass? Listen, I've been doing this for 15 years, hardcore. Nobody gave me any free passes.
No.
If you want,
and honestly, sometimes like when you don't pay for something, you don't even appreciate it that much, right? Like sometimes when you do end up paying more, whatever it is, you tune in. And like, I have mentors, and like I always strive and tell people, like, whatever you want to get into, get mentors, right? Because like you need mentors to help you out whenever you get stuck. Network, your net worth is your network. I strongly believe in that. And like you say yourself, you've been in the business for a long time. Your network is already big enough, right? You are able to go to different states. You're able to help out different people in different scenarios, right? And there's always an option. At the end of the day, there's always an option. Just can you figure it out, or at least link up with somebody that doesn't understand that option and they can help to tell you, such as yourself, right? And that's really what it comes down to, because like business is all about people, right? Like we make money with people transactions and people talking to each other, working with each other, networking, and so on. So I definitely strongly believe in that. And like one of the things that I'm super grateful is that for the past couple of years I've been networking a lot, and I met great people like yourself and Nick Tang and so on. And I was able to, again, like whenever we get stuck, I would reach out to guys like you, and you guys be like, hey, what did you think about this? What did you think about that? Right. So it's really that simple, and people like overthink it, right? They're like, oh my God, it's so complicated. Some things are complicated, but if somebody else has done it, you can do it too, right? It's that simple.
The problem that I have is that, I've never had anybody really say to me, like, I don't value what you say and what you do. But I've had people reach out to me, both people that want to pay and both people that don't want to pay for the experience. And the people that don't pay are the first people to flip out and or say the information you gave was incorrect and was bad advice. And it's like, dude, you didn't pay for the advice. And or also, maybe I don't have time. Like right now, like I set a specific time schedule that I have during the week and things that I can do. And some days, yeah, I might only work 4 or 5 hours. Some days I might work 12 hours during the day, but I don't have to answer to other people. So when I get the repeat people that ask same stuff over and over again, and they're repeatedly looking for free advice, I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
Because I got to deal with the other nonsense with the bank or with my team, or I get dragged into conference calls. We are in the middle right now. With someone that the previous buyer is in litigation with the homeowner on a short sale.
Okay.
Yeah. And the reason why is because the listing agent did not represent the buyer and the seller correctly. Actually got the buyer to put in $18,000 worth of work into the house, basically promising the homeowner that they're going to get the property a certain dollar amount. I don't have to do that. Like for me, first I would never do that. I don't work for Dionne Warwick Psychic Hotline. I don't have the crystal ball. I don't have the 8-ball. I can never tell somebody if something's going to work or not. So I need people to be realistic in this industry, and it drives me nuts. And sometimes I have to turn off the noise from the outside, and I have to put my phone on airplane mode because of what's going on. So my guest today is Yarik, and his phone number, if you want to reach out to him directly, great guy. Apparently, he'll even buy the junky car in your driveway at this point because he's buying artwork. He's got some of the artwork behind him. I think it's totaling $250 between the two pieces. I'm like kidding.
Well, this is actually, what's funny? Speaking of artwork, when I moved, so I just moved to a new apartment right after I got better from the coronavirus. I was literally paying for two properties while I was getting a new one, and I had to move in. So I started buying all this stuff. So like this artwork I bought was actually just a print, right? And then later on, I came across this whole art collection. I wouldn't buy a junky car, but if it's a deal, I definitely look into it.
I got you. You can reach him directly if you want at 215-239-7819. Again, his direct number, his cell phone, you can call and text, which is 215-239-7819. He is buying New Jersey, New York, and Pennsylvania, but if it makes sense, he's not going to pass up an opportunity. So without question, you reach out to him. Final question, and this is something that not everybody reads books. I'm more of an Audible guy, and
same here.
But I'm the type of guy I have an attention span of a gnat, so I don't even really get through all audio books. And if there's a dull spot in it, then I just fast forward it. And sometimes it gets to the end of the Audible, and I'm like, fuck it. It wasn't meant to be for me to listen, and I sure as hell ain't gonna read the book.
Well, I'm the same way, and that's why I believe re-listening the same thing. Sometimes, I have 5 books that I re-listen to every year. Sometimes 2-3 times a year. And I love how Nick Tanguan said is if you listen to a book or read a book and the same book over again, and you don't learn anything new, that means you haven't grown since the first time you read it or listened to it. Right? That actually made sense. Yeah, because sometimes you miss things, and it's fine to miss things, right? You don't have to consume everything. But I strongly believe, and kind of going back to what you were saying before about people reaching out and people saying, oh, can I do this? Can I do that? And this is where I strongly always promote self-improvement, self-awareness, education is that you start growing. And I'll give you a perfect example. So a friend of mine, we went out to the art gallery that was closing down, and it was funny because he saw 2 paintings he wanted to acquire, right? I saw how to acquire everything, right? And the difference between my mindset and his mindset is that I'm just seeing a bigger picture, right? He was thinking small, and I was thinking big. And is it because of self-improvement? I don't know what it is, but I just understand that rules are there, but there's sometimes can be bent or done in your favor as long as everybody's winning, right? If everybody's winning and everybody's getting the result at the end of the day, it will definitely close. It will definitely work out.
Right.
And going back to the books, yeah, I believe strongly in the books. I do have five favorite books. Let me see. Pretty much The Alchemist. I strongly suggest everybody read that book. I know most people read it in high school. I read the book once a year, and it's really like the blueprint. It's really good story. It's a really good blueprint of your life. The Alchemist. The second one is the Four Agreements. That's Four Agreements is actually so strong. Every morning I wake up, I have a journal, I write in it, and like one of the things, the Four Agreements are pretty much always be impeccable with your word, always do your best, never take anything personal, and never make assumptions. Right? If those four things you follow, you kind of start living an easier, peaceful life. Because you don't take things personal. Because sometimes there's miscommunication, and that person, whatever it is. So, anyways, the third one is Until the Soul. It's a super short read, Until the Soul. Again, you guys can text me, and I can tell you which books and authors. By Michael Singer. Until the Soul is just mostly talks about our awareness and like how we think of things, right? Like, why do we hold on to the negativity, or like why do we see different things differently, and so on. Super great book. Definitely another book I read every year. Rich Dad Poor Dad. That's actually how I got into this industry. Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Awesome writer. Really simple. Again, that's one of those books you would read every year. And then the fifth, my favorite one is the Five Love Languages. Right. Some certain things, like for example, today's topic was negotiations. That's not taught in schools, right? It's not. There's not much of education on it. But we're every single day we're either being sold or we're selling. Right. If you want anything, you walk in, even an interview, right? If you're trying to get a job, you're selling yourself, and those things we're not being taught in school. So again, like either you're being sold or sold to, and the love languages, the five languages, again, like in schools, they don't teach us about relationships, right? But how are we supposed to keep these relationships? So I strongly believe that people should definitely try out the five love languages. Super great book. It's a super short read. It has great examples. Like it blew me away. I read the book right after my breakup, and it really helped me out a lot. So it was perfect. Like things are really interesting, and I strongly suggest reading. And if you guys want, shoot me a text message. I'll send you a link, a free Audible, whichever book you want. I'll send to you. You get a link. You'll be able to download it for free, keep it, use it, and go from there.
So now you're giving away $3.
Always, and I'm not affiliated with anything, so I'm just here to help and give.
I got you. I love having people like you on the show because of the value that gets added. There's so many people that are in this industry that don't understand the value that they may or may not bring into the industry, and I feel bad for people that maybe have not been given the opportunity to really learn and express what they might be good at and what they might not be good at. I mean, I worked with an individual who was on my team for many years. He was afraid to door knock. There were a lot of things that he was afraid to do that I didn't know about, and I found out later in the game. But he was always amazing at landscaping. Always amazing, once the warm lean turned hot, to keep the connection there, to keep the people engaged and wanting to move forward and wanting to be able to, finish out whatever the transaction was. So everybody has a niche. I think if you have a heart and you have something to offer and you want to be part of the team itself, then offer your value. Show your value proposition. If you don't have money for mentorship and you're willing to suck wind for 6 months to a year and offer yourself up, dry cleaning. I mean, I've had everything offered to me except sex. To wash my car, pick up my dry cleaning, pick up my children from school if I wanted. Like, you name it, I've had it done. Which is, and I get it. I mean, people they want to show, look, I'm serious about getting involved. I just don't really have the money. And I know there's a lot of people out there.
Most likely those people will succeed. Those are the ones who will succeed.
100%.
Because they're taking action.
100%. I mean,
they're reaching out and they're shaking hands.
I had a guest on the show the other day, and he was basically a car jockey to whatever it took, and stuck with it for 1 year, made no money, and wanted to learn. Sometimes you have to figure out a way that if you don't have the money to pay for it and you want the education, where there's a will, there's a way. So when someone says, I can't learn it, I can't understand it, or, I can't find a way to break into the industry, I don't agree with that. I know what my downfalls, I know what my pitfalls are, and everybody really should understand what that is. And that's one of the things, like,
very powerful. Yeah.
I've had people offer me money to help them, but if you don't have the drive,
yep.
and then you're making demands like, well, this is when we're going to talk, and this, what, you're a fucking pain in the ass now. I can't even imagine if you cut me a check how much more of a pain in the ass you're going to be. I can't help you. Or, and I'm sure you've seen this already in the last 2 years because you've come so far, where people are like, yeah, I'll work with you, and and I'll try to add some value along the way, but I'm going to be your shadow for 24 hours a day, whatever. I just don't have time for that. So some people might want to do it for free. Some people might want to pay for it, but I don't accept everybody to work with as far as mentoring them or to take them as a client or even like the one-on-one, the coaching, because honestly, like, I don't see that you want it bad enough and you have a passive attitude about it and you're kind of like, Then
I agree with you, and pretty much it comes down to the biggest question is like, oh, how do I make money? Right? How do I become rich? Can you give me the recipe or the secret sauce for getting rich? And to be honest with you, it's like, and I know big guys, once they hear that, they're like, you're still thinking small, right? You're still thinking about the money. And like what you're trying to say is pretty much, you start, get the foundation going, get there's so much YouTube videos, there's so much things going on. If somebody reached out to you with a specific question, right, about a specific deal or specific, you get interested. I know you would not get turned down and say, no, I don't have time for you. You'd be like, oh, wow, you were actually taking action. You did something. Now you're stuck and you were actually helping for, you're asking for help. You're in momentum right now. So you want to help them out. And I know you would. So would I. Right. But we get discouraged when somebody would reach out and it's like, oh, how do I, how do I start?
Yeah.
What do you mean, how do you start? You start by taking action, and it's like, one thing I always tell people is like, if you want to know where to start, wherever state you want to invest in, go on the contract. Find an agent, do whatever you got to do, find any deal. It doesn't have to be a deal. Just find a property, go on the contract, read the contract, sign it, get lose some hair over time, or, read the contract, sign it, give the earnest money, get it back, figure it out, take action. Because otherwise, like same thing with one of my friends, like, oh, I went to see a property. He's like, so what do I do now? I'm like, I want to submit an offer. I'm like, okay, which state is it in? He's like, oh, it's in Connecticut. I'm like, okay, great. I'm like, go online and find out the regular, real estate agent's contract. Read it over, because he was asking me, how do I not lose my money my earnest money? And I'm like, easy. Figure out the contract. I'll guide you, but first you have to read the contract. Get familiar with it. Sign it. You know what I mean? Get used to it. That was my biggest fear in the beginning. That's how I wasn't able to get over it. And then once I got over it, I was like, oh wow, okay, I can get in and out, and I'm not losing money, and like I'm putting up $2,000 earnest money, and I know in the contract there's a way for me to get out of it, whatever it is. So again, like you said before, it's like you'd love to help as long as that person is already taking action.
Yeah.
They're not asking for you to be their daddy or like to hold their hand and whatever it is, and like, hey,
yeah,
that's pretty much getting a job. They're asking for a job.
So if somebody was to try to get started right now in real estate in 2020, your advice would be
go on the contract. So first figure out what exactly you want. Do you want to flip? I would have suggested in this economy, do you want to buy, cash flow? If it is, what is the area? And I don't mean like, oh, I want to do it in Pennsylvania. Well, which county, which city? Once you figure that out, go on Zillow. The first thing you do, the first area, whatever you find, click on it, contact the agent, let them tell them that you're interested, buy the property. Now, some of these agents are like, oh, you're wasting our time. You're going to build a rapport, right? Even if you go out of contract with this agent, you already made a connection, right? That's one more agent now So you make it, go on a contract, before you sign a contract, you're going to have to read the contract. And once you read the contract, you're going to be like, okay, so this is the contract.
right.
There's nothing changing in it. Once I sign it, that's how it is. And guess what? It's the same contract for every other property, right? The only thing is changes the numbers, the diligence time, earnest money, all those things. So once, like before, when the first 5 contracts, I was like reading every single. Now it's like I know which areas I got to look in. and I'm able to sign it fast and so on. So you get more comfortable, more, and so on. So that's really where you start. You start by taking action and find out what the laws are in your area. That's pretty much where it comes down to.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah.
Listen, I appreciate you coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
If people want to reach out to Yarik directly, you can reach him at his mobile, which is the 215-239-7819. It's 215-239-7819.
Yeah, shoot me an email. Emails also work really well. I can send you more information via email. This way we can build a report. promasterlight@gmail.com.
promasterlight@gmail.com. I appreciate you coming on today, guys.
Thank you, Matt.
The show that I have Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays right now is about offering value to people that are still, lost out there or looking to find a direction. And I'm trying to bring as much value as I can. If you want to be a guest, or if you know somebody who might want to be a guest on here and it's real estate related in any way, shape, or form, love to have them come on, talk, and educate others that are out there. This is a community that we're working on. Obviously, I have my Short Sales 101 group, which is private on Facebook, Short Sales 101. If somebody has a question and it can't wait and you're in the middle of the night and you got ants in your pants, you can call the company, my company, Real Estate Recovery Group, toll free at 866-739-3960. It's 866-739-3960. Yarik, I appreciate you coming on at the end of every show. I ask people if they can emulate the finger point, so I'd love to see if you can do it. Dude, you nailed it. I've been practicing all
night.
Dude, I'm gonna give you a 9. A 9.
Oh, all right. I'll take that.
A 9 out of 100. No, I'm only kidding. 9 out of 10. Dude, you
so close.
You nailed that. Like literally, you could cut glass with that. Do it again. We'll see it. Do it again. Dude, that's all. And you get the eyebrow going too. I love it. Dude, you're the highest ever, a 9. Awesome. I've not given a 9 to anybody. Not even my wife.
We won't say that.
I'm gonna edit that part out later on. Guys, thanks so much for joining.
Thank you. I had a blast. Thank you, Matt, for having me.
Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, 12 p.m. This is Real Estate Recovery Group. We are live streaming. Stay tuned until our next episode. Hold on one second. Don't go anywhere.